Hi, this is Kylie Coo. Welcome to my studio. So today I'm going to be making a small pocket-sized journal. It could be used as an art journal, it could be used as a notebook, or it could be used as a junk journal. It's one that has two pockets and a flap that covers the front or can cover the inside pages. And the great thing about this journal is there's no sewing involved. So I love having little journals like this. I can put in my pocket, put in a bag when I'm out and about. So if there's something I remember that I just want to note down somewhere, then I have a little book. That black one I'm using as a kind of just a simple journal for doing some doodles in white. So here's what I'll be using today. I'm using 2 sheets of cardstock. Now, it's fairly lightweight cardstock, but heavier than normal paper. So it's A4 size, and there I've got the measurements. I've tried to get the measurements as close as possible in imperial, so 11 5/8 by 8 1/4. But it's a standard piece of A4 paper. So if you're using something bigger or smaller, you may need to adjust the measurements. So I'll be using a pencil, a ruler, a bone folder, scissors, and a punch. It doesn't need to be a fancy punch, some glue, and I'm also going to use a piece of, in this case, just a piece of jute for the binding. Now for the length, you want to make it somewhere between 60 and 70 centimetres, depending on whether you want it double bound or not. So I've sped this up a little bit now, but what I'm doing is I'm taking the 2 long sides of one of my sheets of cardstock, putting them together, just using the bone folder to get a nice crease. If you don't have one, use the back of scissors, or you can even just use your thumbnail. You could cut this if you wanted. I just tend to tear them. It does give a little bit of a rough edge, but I don't mind that. So I'm going to just tear that right down the middle. So I now have 2 long strips. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with the second piece. So I now have 4 strips. I'm going to put one of those to the side. And what I'm going to do with the other 2 is to fold, the other 3 is to fold the short ends together. Again, just use that bone folder to get a nice crease and to tear down the middle. And I'll do that with the remaining pieces. So once I've got them done, all I'm going to do then is to fold each of these into half. So again, short end to short end, fold it in half and get a nice crease. I'll do that with each piece, and then I'm just going to insert them all into each other, and this will give me one signature. Now, just because there's so many pieces there, they will slightly hang over the end. I don't mind that, but you could even it off if you wanted. Now, often with this, I will simply just take the signature and work out from there my kind of measurements, just eyeball it. However, I have written them out just to show you in case you want them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my pencil and use those marks, those measurements there, and mark my page up. So 3 centimetres or 1 3/16, 11.3 or 4.5 inches, 19.5 or 7 11/16, and 26.7 or 10.5 inches. Now I've just drawn the lines in there just so you can see where I'm now making the folds, and all I'm going to do is use my ruler to make the fold. I'll then fold it over, see that it's lined up, and again just use the bone folder. Now what I would suggest is with those measurements, I have tried to do my best to convert them from centimetres to inches, but you might want to just take a piece of scrap paper just to check it out before you use any expensive cardstock or patterned paper. And all I'm doing there is checking that the signature is going to fit into it. So I'm just making this one plain, but you could obviously use patterned paper, or you could decorate your paper beforehand. So all I'm doing now is putting a little bit of glue on those end pieces, top and bottom, and those will make the little pocket for the back and the front. just rubbing off the excess glue there, pressing it down to make sure it's firmly in place. So that will become the bit at 11.3 or 4.5 will be where I punch, because that will become the spine. So I've set this to about 1.5 centimetres or half an inch. I'm just using the small hole on this. As I say, it doesn't need to be a punch of this sort. Any basic standard punch will do. And what I'm also going to do is the same to my little stack of papers, my little signature. Now what you can do, if you can't see the line, all I'm going to do here is again draw a line down the middle, which I'll then be able to see through the whole of the punch. Just making sure I've got them in the centre, and I'm managing to punch them all in one go, albeit you could do it individually. So what I don't do at this stage, but I'll come back and do it in a second, is I actually put the page with the pencil lines to the back so that they're not seen, not that it would have mattered. So you'll see me repeat this stage in just a second, because I think, oh no, I don't want the pencil line, push it to the back. So all I'm doing is taking one piece of my thread, and you could use something like an embroidery floss for this, baker's twine, anything like that, and putting it through the top hole of both the signature and the cover, and then doing the same at the bottom. So I'm going to make sure that they're roughly even, and then I will tie a knot. And this is where I always feel like I could do with a third hand just to hold the string in place. There we go, getting it as tight as possible but not pulling it so tight that it tears. So I can fold the outer flap across the signature itself, or I can fold it across the front of my little journal. This thread is long enough that I can wrap it round twice and tie it down the spine. So just showing you again the different options. This one I'd coloured beforehand and used some baker's twine on it, but it's basically the same design. I just coloured one side of the paper, left the other side white so that I can add to that. I have another made of craft paper. It's a thinner paper. I think if I was making another one with craft paper, I would double up the cover, so use one piece of paper folded over and glued together. But it's still a handy little notebook for just dropping in my bag or in my pocket. And the black one I thought was quite effective, just using the white pen on it. So this video is actually part of a hop. I'll be leaving the names to everybody else in the hop in the description box below. I'd love if you could go and check out their videos as well, and if it's someone you're visiting for the first time, then please do let them know that you came across from my channel. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye for now.